So I think we can get started. So good morning to everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Teresa Pastor, and I now work part-time for the EUROPARC Federation. And on behalf of the whole team, I wish you a warm welcome to today's webinar, Regenerative Tourism, what is this new approach about? But before we get started, me tell you some housekeeping notes. So this webinar is being recorded, so please adjust your camera as you wish. Ensure that your name and organization are clearly displayed in the participant list. And please write your questions and thoughts in the chat. My colleague Philippa Lima and myself will be monitoring them, and we will try to address all the questions, all your thoughts as possible during the time slot that we have for that. You will find this webinar in our website at EUROPARC/EuroPAP webinars, but please be patient. It will take us about 1 or 2 weeks before we can set up everything. So for those who are not familiar with the EUROPARC Federation, this is the largest network of protected areas in Europe with about 400 members across 40 countries. And sustainable tourism has been at the heart of the EUROPARC Federation works since many years. So we have a special program dedicated to that, the European Charter for Sustainable Tourism in Protected Areas, which was put in place a few years after the publication of the seminal report, Loving Them to Death. And where are we 30 years later? The pressure of tourism has become even worse, which causes high impacts, and new challenges have emerged. The climate and biodiversity crisis with extreme weather events which damage infrastructure, ecosystems, and of course, the natural attractions. So it has become clear that minimizing impacts and sustaining ecosystems as they are is no longer enough to secure a thriving future for our nature and the communities that depend on it. That's why there is a new concept, the regenerative approach, which has emerged. This approach extends the sustainability concept by actively restoring what has been degraded, generating net positive outcomes, and leaving places and communities stronger than before. In other words, regenerative tourism ensures that tourism gives back more to people and places than it takes. So the idea is that regenerative tourism should leave a positive handprint as opposed to a negative footprint. Of course, this is a nice and appealing concept, but it needs to become operational and to be landed on the ground. And that brings up a series of questions. So what changes are needed from both protected areas and tourist business to move beyond sustainability and truly embrace regenerative tourism? What needs to be done differently? How will a visitor's experience in our parks change when we adopt a regenerative tourism approach? What will they feel? What will they need to do differently? Are they willing to do things differently? And for me, the most important question is whether regenerative tourism is simply a new marketing trend that will fade in few years, or whether it is represents a genuine and lasting shift in mindsets. These are just a few of many questions that I guess we all share. So the purpose of today's webinar is to bring insights from real experience on the ground, insights that can help us to better understand and clarify what regenerative tourism truly means. And as it is still an emerging concept, and like all new ideas, it will inevitably be challenged, refined, and adapted to different realities over time. So I really warmly encourage you to share your thoughts and ask any questions you may have in the chat as we go along. And now, without further ado, I'm really pleased to introduce our guest speakers for today. Xavier Cazorla Clarisó. He is an environmental scientist and consultant in regenerative tourism in the Catalan Pyrenees. He's the founder and CEO of Elements Mountains of Ideas. And he will present his experience in helping destinations to become regenerative destinations in Spain. Afterwards, we will have Deborah Brooks, who is a tourism consultant specialized in promoting partnerships and collaborative working in UK's protected landscapes, meaning national landscapes, national parks, national trails, and national character areas. And she's also our representative, EUROPARC representative in the Lighting Isles, where she advises them for better development. So, Xavier, now I'm pleased to pass the floors to you.
Thank you, Teresa. I will share my screen if is that fine for you?
Yeah, yes, please go.
Okay, please confirm you can see it.
Yes, all perfect.
Okay, great. So, good morning to everyone, and thank you to the EUROPARC Sustainable Tourism team, mainly you, Teresa, for inviting me today. Let me begin just with a question. I will go directly straight to the point, and with an uncomfortable question, let's say. Is today tourism making your destination, your ecosystems, communities, and well-being healthier or more degraded, right? So just to get warm, please, you can answer here into the chat saying yes or no, and also saying which is your destination or your natural area in which you are working with. Because we can, with this, we can have this rapid snapshot of how different places are experiences with tourism today. If we go to the concept, for decades, the idea of sustainable tourism has guided much of our work. I'm environmental scientist, as Teresa said. We have been working on protected areas and nature-based destinations, and it helped us, that sustainability concept, to move away from the most destructive practices and thinking about limits, thinking about carrying capacity and impact reduction. But over these last 30 years, the world around changed a lot, and faster than we can imagine. We are facing different crises, as you may know, rapidly changing climate, the loss of species and habitats, and increasing social tensions like the housing, the land use, and visitors' pressure. In this context, as Teresa also introduced, simply doing less harm is not longer enough, and we need to go further, because otherwise we only have a slow decline. This is why regeneration matters as a paradigm, and it asks a different question. How can tourism actively restore, renew, and strengthen the living systems and community it depends on? If we try to understand why regeneration is necessary, we need to name the problem clearly. For many destinations, tourism has operated as an extractive activity. It has brought jobs, income, infrastructure. Yes, but it has also contributed to extract water, land, energy, and cultural meaning, and often faster than ecosystems and community can renew it. Local communities have become fragile, high dependent on seasonal visitors and external tour operators. Young people also leave because they cannot find jobs which are often low paid, unstable, or disconnected from their local identity. And at the same time, we see visible signs of ecological stress. We see erosion on popular trails, we see disturbance of wildlife, we see congestion in fragile valleys and coastals, and rising emission from transport. So, adding to that, we have to talk about that socially, there's a growing frustration. There's a lot of protests, like in Barcelona, in the Canary Island, in Venice, in Amsterdam, that are not simply anti-tourist reactions. They are symptoms of a deeper imbalance. Communities are asking for models that respect the right to housing, to quiet season, and to improve the sense of home. So we are facing that, and we are facing a very direct question also. Do we accept as tourism as a slow agent of degradation, or do we redesign it as a force for regeneration? But what do we mean by regeneration? Because at least for me, regeneration is not just a nicer word to mention sustainability. For me, at least, it describes a different level of ambition. Sustainability often focuses on limiting damages, as I said, using a bit less of water, producing less waste, disturbing less the nature. But regeneration asks to increase the health and vitality of the places where tourism happens. So, new words, we have to use it. Just to put it into a scale, the generative system leaves places poorer over time. A sustainable system tries to keep things as they are to minimize the further loss. And regeneration, a regenerative system, leaves places richer with more biodiversity, stronger local culture, and more shared prosperity and deeper connections between people and place. And which is the arena to work with uh, our destinations. And for regeneration, destinations means a living system, right? To move towards regeneration, we have to see destinations in a different way. As a, here is it mentioned as a living system, because we have forests and rivers, soils and coastlines. We have communities and stories and livelihoods we have to improve. All these elements are interconnected. Changes in one part, for example, a surge in visitors' numbers at one site can affect the use of water, the prices of the house, and the traffic patterns, and even the sense of identity of the residents. So, in a living system, health is not measured of how many visitors arrive in one year. It is measured by indicators such as the quality and quantity of water, the diversity of species and habitats, and the stability of local livelihoods. Also, the presence of young people who choose to stay, and also the strength of local culture and language. Maybe we think these are disconnected things, but talking about regeneration, all of those things are really important. So, if we have to sum up, which are the main essential elements of regenerative tourism, we can just say three things. First, long-term place-based vision, right? Regeneration needs clear shared goals at the scale of landscape or river basin, but not only at that scale, also at individual businesses and other scales. It requires a special planning, rules that are nowadays enforced, and public investments aligned with ecological limits. The second element is that community have it has to participate, a deep community participation. Residents are not just stakeholders to be consulted once, they are the co-designers and co-guardians of the place. When local people are at the center of decision making, tourism can really reinforce identity instead of erasing it. And the third one is that new ways of measuring the success are needed. Counting arrivals of overnight stays will not tell us if we are regenerating anything. We need indicators for soil health, for water quality, for species recovery, as I mentioned before. But telling that story into detail, there are also some barriers and challenges. Could be institutional ones, institutional barriers, like, you know, um, funding cycles are quite short, and while regeneration by definition is long term, and sometimes institutions are not fitted to this time scheduling. Another ones could be economic barriers, in which many destinations still reward quick growth in visitor numbers rather than long-term resilience. And the third one could be also cultural ones, cultural barriers, perhaps the most important. For decades, we have been trained to see tourism growth as inherently positive. And questioning this, it can feel really, really risky. So, if you are agree on that, on these barriers, please share with me, share with all of us, if do you see of which of this do you see is the strongest resistance to change in your own context? Is the regulation? Are the businesses models? Is the collective mindset? Um, until here, this first part about more the concept and the challenges, and let's see some examples, right? In the second part, I will share 4 community-based examples from the Southern Europe, very, very quick, where tourism is being used as a tool to restore places and strengthen communities. We will see 2 festivals and 1 island scale initiative named Regenerative, and the last one, which is a tourism business that has evolved from a regular one to a regenerative business and also a regenerative institute. Before that, saying that community is in all of them at the core of regeneration. Regenerative tourism starts, as I said, from the community and from the living system of the place. It means that local residents define what it means, health and well-being. Tourism projects are designed to serve those local priorities and not the other way around. And visitors are invited to become temporary citizens, not just consumers. The 4 examples we will see share 3 traits. They work at the speed of trust, as you can see here into the slide. They link celebration with responsibility. We can enjoy the way we are doing regeneration, and we have to, because it's a better impact, and they create visible benefits. It's not only discourse. We have to see how we restore the systems, how we restore the habitats and the societies. The first of the examples is at river basin scale. Is in the northern part of the Pyrenees, in the Catalan Pyrenees, in the Muga river basin. Sentim la Muga, or Feeling the Muga, is a project that takes place along that Muga river basin, and they connect different municipalities. Some of them are Albanyà, Sant Llorenç de la Muga, Terrades, etc., and it goes to the Mediterranean Sea. One central activity in this example is Sentim la Muga Festival. It's not just a weekend of activities. It's a living milestone along the river basin that first brings together residents, artists, local artisans, and different visitors to rediscover the river and as a shared home. Second one, it combines walks, artistic interventions, conversation on and local food in ways that highlight fire risk, water scarcity, and land management in a Mediterranean context. And third one, jointly, a seasonal agenda extends the activities over month. It's not only a one-off event, it just stays during different months. So you will see here some of the activities. For instance, communication. It was this last weekend on Friday, last Friday. We prepared a podcast in which we had that dialogue between different resources. The wolf had a dialogue with the forest, also with the people, also with the festival. We had some artistic activities, as I mentioned, but also activities going to discover the natural and cultural heritage. Of course, gastronomy and local food is involved on it because it's really, really important. And as I said, there's an agenda of different activities during the season in which they are cleaning up the rivers or they are doing different activities to discover biodiversity or cultural heritage. Let me mention that they just launched a manifesto with some pillars. They have 10 pillars in which they decided with the metaphor of nature that we are seeds, we are roots, we are trunk, etc. So to let you know. Finally, to this example, we learned that ecologically, the festival helps people to see the river and its forest as a fragile but living system. They need care. And at the same time, socially, it reinforces a sense of belonging to the valley and supports local culture and the economy. There's a video if you want to see more information about this. Really nice because it has priced in different schemes. So here you will have it. You have the link to see it. It's half an hour, more or less. Another example is in the Canary Island. Very quick, is another festival. It's the Anaga Biofest. It's into the biosphere reserve of the mountains of Anaga. That's a festival that invites people to feel part of this unique landscape of laurel forest and small rural settlements. Over the years, this is the fifth edition. It was this last September. It has become more than a cultural event. As the other, it combines guided nature experiences with local gastronomy, with traditional knowledge, and with environmental education. At the end, it's like a living lab in which we can learn every year by year which are the activities to restore, the activities to regenerate the landscape, and also the connections between the people. This, from a regenerative perspective, there are different channels of visitors flows that are guided to small groups, and they respect, of course, the ecological limits. You can see here on your left side the magnificent landscape they have. And we also try to recover some, in this case, potatoes. We just work with different um, types of potatoes this year, and we eat it, and we just use that biodiversity to restore the landscape also. And another example here in the Canary Island is Regenerate. This Regenerate project is an initiative promoted by the Island Council of Tenerife through Turismo de Tenerife. And its aims is to promote concrete actions that regenerate natural areas of high tourist interest. But at the same time, we want to raise awareness among the visitors, the local people, and the tourism sector. One of the most visible moments is the Regenerate Week, which is a week of coordinated activities, more than 25 activities at the same time, of habitat restoration, of coastal cleanups, and trail renaturalization. Also taking invasive species and citizen science. Many actions are designed so that tourists and residents work side by side all together. That's really, really important. And the communication emphasizes that tourism should improve natural areas and strengthen the local social economy, not only reduce the damage. Here, regeneration show us that the island uses tourism as a distributed volunteer force to support long-term restoration plans. And it also acts as a network to connect regenerative businesses, training programs, and local initiatives structured by the name of Regenerate. The last example is Cerdaña Viva, which is a tourism accommodation complex with rooms, apartments, and bungalows, and also a camping that has been evolving for years towards a model of regenerative tourism. Its key features are that they are using extensive permaculture gardens and organic orchards to supply the kitchen and the farm shop. They are using 70% of what they need, closing that loop of from the earth to the plate and from the plate to the earth. They have also a high use of renewable energies and continuous work to reduce the use of resources. And they also promote educational visits and workshops that turn the resorts into a learning space for guests, schools, and professionals. It's so learning space that they promoted the launch of a regenerative institute from last June. That's a pioneer center dedicated to training, research, and innovation in regenerative leadership, economy, and culture. They are promoting and they are hosting eco stays, retreats, and professional trainings. And it acts as a local hub that connects producers, social enterprises, and territorial projects across the valley. And it shows us that a private tourism business can become part of this wider ecosystem of change, not just an standalone accommodation. So just to mention, we just had the Global Ecotourism Forum. If you want to see some more examples, you can see here into the webpage, gef2025.org, some other activities in some weeks that will have all the recordings and also all the presentations. Finally, what we can learn from these cases, we can say that start with the community and the territory is the way to do. We don't have to start with marketing activities. So each initiative begins by asking, why does this valley, this biosphere we serve, this island or whatever, need to stay alive and thriving? Tourism is designed to really reinforce, to really restore this destination. We also use celebration, as you can see, festivals in this case, as an entry point to a responsibility. That events attract people through joy, art, and food. And once people are gathered, they are invited to go deeper in conversation, in working all together to improve land, water, fire activities, and housing for the future. We also create recurring structures, not only a one-off project. That's really, really important. There are annual festivals, yearly regeneration weeks, and permanent institutes. So this structure allows us learning from this accumulated relationship and to deepen over the time. And finally, it's really important to blend the different scales from site to basin, from the village to the island, um, because altogether they show that regeneration can happen at multiple levels, and as long as they are really connected. To finish, three takeaways, because I think if you only take this, for me, it's gonna be fine. First, that regeneration is already happening in European tourism, but it's still in only a few pioneer places. From the Muga Valley to Anaga, from Tenerife to the Pyrenees, we see concrete projects that where tourism is helping to restore ecosystems, strengthen communities, and renew local economies. But of course, they are not the mainstream. Second thing is that community-based design is not negotiable. In all the four cases, local people are not the target audience. They are the co-creators. Municipalities, associations, landowners, artists, schools, and businesses are at the same table, and that's a key issue. And the third takeaway is that tourism can become a learning journey for everyone, and visitors learn to see places as a living systems, not only a place to spend some time. Residents gain new tools and alliances, and businesses evolve from simple services providers to be really stewards and educators. If we hold all these principles, tourism becomes a pathway for collective regeneration. So I will stop here. Just a simple invitation. If something of I mentioned here just resonated with you, a concern, an example, a possibility, so do not keep it to yourself. Share it at least with me. I'll be really honored of having your ideas, your questions. We can link on LinkedIn. So you have here the connection. And if you want, afterwards, I will answer your questions and your thoughts. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Xavier, for sharing all your experience and also posing questions, challenging our thoughts. Uh, Please, I welcome questions from the audience. I think we can give some open some mics, but I have from my side some questions that just prompted to my mind when I was listening to you. So the first thing is, okay, yes, we have these regenerative tourists, but how tourists contact? How do they know? Are the Do we need these travel agencies that manage that? So because yes, how does it work in practice? Also, my thought was yes, but because as I understand, and the example that you show with the potatoes, we need the tourists to work with the residents and doing something, restoring something. But many people, I mean, when you are on holidays, you just want to rest, hanging around. I mean, don't have this obligation, perhaps. Or perhaps you'll say, oh, yeah, yes, I will do it. But then the day arrives and, oh, I feel tired. So how do you manage this? And then two more things, and then I will pass the floor. Uh, can we also do regenerative tourism in cities? Let's say, I mean, perhaps you know some examples. I mean, I don't know, that there's a neighborhood that you want to improve. I mean, I don't know, asking you if you have heard of this. And I mean, eventually, if we every time we do with regenerative tourism, we restore, we recover the place, eventually, at some point, we wouldn't need to do regenerative again. We would just need to sustain, I would say. But just hear your thoughts. And then,
Okay.
yeah, please raise your hand if someone has a question also, so that we can unmute yourself.
Great. I will try to sum up some of your questions with not really mm, with a short answer. Um, how it works in practice, as you said, with tour operators, with people, with um, I think we are when we are thinking in regenerative tourism, we have to shift from the idea we had before of a market, right? That's the first thing. That's why we have to start from the place, from the community. Regenerative tourism, it's based on the place. So it means that first, do you have to have a community organized that has a common idea of what they want along the destination, and from there they decide what to do. It's not the other way around. Normally we have that tour operators or companies that they are promoting um, products, tourism products, and they offer one night, 2 nights, a weekend, a week to stay in one place. Even the place, the people from the place, they don't know what they have, no? And in this case, it's not like that. So we have to shift. If we want different results, we have to do different things. So that's why how it works if the place and the people who are living there decide how they want to share their destination. That's first. And then all the tour operators, all the companies, all the providers adapt to that common decision, right? um, can be regeneration or regenerative tourism into cities? Of course, yes, because we cannot regenerate, restore, recover some functionalities, some activities into the cities, of course, starting from the social part, but also there are a lot of natural areas into or links to the cities. So we can improve them. We need to improve them because otherwise we are degrading that spaces. So of course, yes, it is a possibility. And I will stop here because I want some more questions. So
Yes, thank you for your answers. And there are questions here in the chat. Um, One of them is what is the good number of persons for visit groups in the regenerative tourism?
Okay.
What would you recommend?
Yeah, there's not a number because it depends on how do you work um, with that people. But among 10 and 15 is a comfortable number to work with. If you have more than 15 people, so you need, for instance, other transports. Uh, with 15 people, you can go with two vans or a public transport easily. And if you want to have, or if you have more people, it's more difficult at doing that. And also with one or two guides, yeah, the ratio is more or less one guide every 10 persons, more or less. So if you have 15 people, you need two. That's for security reasons, but also to have a adequate experience.
Okay. Um, Thank you. Another question is about, in fact, greenwashing. I mean, regenerative is about systemic change of the way we perform, we act, and we are seeing like use this term by marketing purposes as it was for sustainable years ago. So how can we stop it? How can we? Oh, it is difficult.
We will not stop it.
Okay.
We only can fight against that
Uh,
with action. I mean, yes, regeneration is a brand new concept and it's a hype in some sense. But some years ago, it was sustainability. And there are differences regarding this idea of greenwashing. I don't think so. I think it's more or less the same. So the only difference between or how can we face that greenwashing is with actions, having more and more examples of what regeneration means, not only into discourses but also in practice. No, uh, to mention that it's not only about the industry, no, the idea of tourism industry, it's about all that network, and we have that metaphor. We are acting like nature, and nature is not only one side. No, we need everything. So in this case, as I said, we have to start from the land, from the natural resources, and we have to put over them the community to start with. And afterwards, if we don't have that, we cannot talk about regeneration.
yeah. So, what has been your experience communicating this term to the communities, to the industry?
Wow,
What is
it's
what
really
is?
appealing nowadays because they
But at the beginning, it's appealing nowadays. But at the beginning, when you started introducing it, what was
well,
the reaction?
when you just go deeper, then they say, "Wow, we have to." For instance,
Mm,
working with public institutions,
mm,
maybe it has no sense, but public institutions, they are really um, there's a huge fear to work with people, right?
yeah.
Because when you are working with the communities, you are working with some of them, but not with other ones because they don't want to be involved, for instance. And then they say, whoa, 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 uh, we want to do things for everyone, no? And that's why they are
Mm,
mainstreaming everything. And no, we are saying, no, no, we are working with these principles, which are non-negotiable. As I said, we want to get into the system, into the process, whoever, but if they don't want to be involved, is their choice. But we will give them the opportunity to just complain, to give the insights, to be involved, no, an association, whoever. So um, to fight against this idea of that fear is again with action. no? And communicating that first is appealing, and afterwards you have to go deeper, because after the idea of regeneration, yeah, but regeneration, or you want to regenerate what? No?
Mm. Yeah, I think now you have make my way easy to make the transitions to Deborah Brooks, our next speaker, because you were addressing this program now of involving the community and all the challenges that you have to embrace the regenerative tourism from the community base, and not impose from the top. So let's hear now from Deborah Brooks, who is initiating this type of adventure in England, and she will explain her in detail how this process is going on. And thank you everyone for your questions. Like, we couldn't address them all now, but we still have time, and probably Deb, with her intervention, will already answer some of them. Thank you. And Deb, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Javier. That was an incredible presentation, and absolutely everything that you've said in terms of how we've arrived at this project is stemmed in what you've talked about in terms of that place and of community. And thank you, Teresa, for organising today. Absolutely fantastic. And what I want to do today is to introduce you to a new initiative in the Brecklands in the east of England. And this is the Breck's Regenerative Tourism project. But before we start, these images show a little bit about what is special about the Brecks. So this image here, this landscape is home to over 300 pingo ponds that were formed during the last ice age, and it's one of the highest concentrations anywhere in the world and the most nationally important collection in the UK. It's also home to the UK's largest lowland forest, Thetford Forest, which is a man-made forest that's now vital for biodiversity. The Brecks plays a major role in Operation Turtle Dove, which is supporting one of the last remaining breeding populations of this rapidly declining migratory bird species. And at dusk, it's one of the best places in Britain to hear the churring nightjar, a rare bird whose numbers depend on the mosaic of heathland and forest that's unique to the Brecks. So it's this combination of geology, ecology, and cultural history creates a landscape that's unlike anywhere else in the UK. And this is why the Brecks is an excellent pilot area for regenerative tourism. So now let's look at where the Brecks is and what a national character area means. So you can see here where the Brecks is. It's the main gateway, here we go, to Norfolk and Suffolk in the east of England. It's on a major trunk road, so it's easy to just drive through. It's not currently a well-known domestic destination in the UK, and it isn't promoted as a specific destination for tourism by Visit East of England at the moment. It's seen by the businesses and the community in the area very much as a corridor to other more established destinations in the north of Norfolk and in Suffolk, and also its expansive coastline. These businesses are keen to see the Brecks promoted as a special destination to visit, to stop off and stay and support the local economy. However, they want this to be done in a sensitive way. The Brecks sits within a national character area, which is an NCA, which helps us understand its distinctiveness. NCAs aren't protected landscapes, but they are a national planning framework that describes landscape character, sensitivities, and opportunities for conservation and sustainable development. They are classified by Natural England, which is our national agency, and there are a total of 159 NCAs in England, and the Brecks is number 85. They guide conservation, planning, and land management, but they don't impose planning restrictions. And for tourism, they help ensure that what we promote reflects real landscape identity and protects what makes a place special. So the BRICS covers 1,000 square kilometers. This is the national character area. Over 1,000 square kilometers across Norfolk and Suffolk, and there's a population of around about 146,000, half of which live in one of the main market towns, which are dotted across north, south, east, west, and central. It's a place of contrast. 67% is cultivated farmland, 25% is woodland and forest, and 5% is lowland heathland, some of the rarest habitat in Europe. It's a landscape built on sandy soils, it's shaped by human activity, and it's home to species found almost nowhere else in the country. So what is the project? This is a 2-year pilot regenerative tourism project. It only launched in June 2025, so it's early days. So if we don't know and we don't try, we're not sure what we can achieve. So this is where our action starts. It's supported by seed funding from the Norfolk and Suffolk Local Visitor Economy Partnership, and it's part of a pilot to seek inward investment from other sources. And the goal is to demonstrate a regenerative model that can be looked at and possibly adapted and replicated across the region. So what is an LVEP? A local visitor economy partnership, is a nationally supported partnership between public and private sectors. It's designed to strengthen the visitor economy through better governance, better collaboration, and more diverse funding streams. LVEPs are new structures to fund tourism coming into play in England from around 2023. So they're supported nationally by government and by local authorities. So the project ambition. So our ambition is to position the BRICS as the UK's first regenerative tourism national character area. This means moving beyond sustainable tourism, which focuses on doing no harm, towards a model that actively improves the environment, the local economy, and community well-being. We want to spread visitor demand seasonally and geographically and support local producers and landowners and ensure that tourism becomes a positive force for the whole area. This work relies heavily on collaboration, and the BRICS has a long history of partnership between landowners, conservation groups, councils, and communities, which is really important and which kind of creates a solid base for this project. And this has been happening over a long period of time with many different initiatives. So our approach is to build on this, bringing stakeholders into a co-design, identifying shared priorities, and making sure regenerative tourism aligns with existing land management and conservation goals. So why are we looking at regenerative tourism as it's such a new concept? Many farmers and landowners in the BRICS are already leaders in conservation and sustainability. They're delivering habitat restoration through regenerative agriculture, habitat restoration, and through other kinds of biodiversity improvements. So regenerative tourism is the next step for them. It allows visitors to actively support and experience this work, creating new income streams while reinforcing their conservation outcomes. So we're already seeing farmers who are collaborating to work on a landscape scale in the BRICS, and they're diversifying into ecotourism, glamping, offering nature and ecology experiences and education, local produce, field to fork, and well-being activities. This example here is just one in the BRICS. It's Wendling Beck, and it's a collaboration between 5 landowners, 5 different farmers, and they're working together to improve over 2,000 acres of land that's home to 2,500 species and contains 3 sites of special scientific interest, which are protected areas. And so it's businesses like Wendling Beck that want tourism to work for them, that's going to be value driven and low impact, and bring nature connected visitors who contribute to the landscape rather than take away from it. So despite there being a relatively large number of businesses who are already working sustainably and want tourism to have a regenerative impact on the area, there are also many micro businesses in the BRICS who are facing the well-known barriers we've already talked about to sustainability and ultimately regenerative tourism. Sustainability is seen as high cost unless the returns are clear. Business owners are wearing multiple hats and they have little capacity and resource for conducting sustainability work. There is a lack of specialist knowledge, and there are concerns still that customers won't pay a premium for sustainability. So these wide differences between the larger landowners and the micro businesses in the Brex will all form part of this pilot project of how do we handle that. So one of the tangible benefits that all businesses welcome is the creation of stay-in itineraries that promote local accommodation, local food and produce, local hospitality, and showcase authentic experiences that are rooted in the Brex landscape, wildlife, and heritage. Storytelling is crucial, a sense of place, helping visitors understand not just what to see, but why it matters. And this project will be supported by a separate co-created destination marketing. But all of this work has been bubbling away over many years with a well-established destination management organization. So this really is amplifying and adding another layer to that. So another thing that all the businesses want and need are knowledge and education, and they definitely don't want to be involved in greenwashing. So our academic partner for this pilot project is the University of Greenwich, and they are helping us to build a regenerative tourism framework with inputs from stakeholders that works for the Brex. So together we'll be conducting baseline sustainability surveys, enabling qualitative and quantitative evaluation. We're running workshops, and they're going to help us measure the long-term environmental, economic and social impacts of such a project. So I want to finish off by showing you a little bit more about the assets that we're working with in the Brex. Its history and heritage are extraordinary. So this here, Grimes Graves, it's the only Neolithic flint mines in Britain that are open to the public, and they're among the oldest prehistoric sites in Europe. There's over 430 pits there. And the National Trust's beautiful Oxborough estate is undertaking a major 10-year parkland restoration to create species-rich woodland and meadows to attract more wildlife and to improve biodiversity. So these stories show how culture and ecology have shaped each other for thousands of years, and it's a perfect story, and it's a perfect part of creating regenerative experiences for visitors. So one of the partners that we're working with, they arrange an annual outdoor festival, and it currently runs in August, and it's over a week, and it's proved really popular, both with lots of community involvement, but also including visitors that are coming to the area. So there's a real ambition to extend the duration of this festival and to focus on the off-season to reach a wider audience and engage with those visitors more deeply, so that it generates more revenue that can be invested back into the Brex to support nature and its communities. And you can see here some of that range of funding that exists, and we're just adding another layer of that by making this part of the annual calendar, and creating something that anchors the visitor into that sort of community festival experience. So the Brex is also home to a vibrant network of producers and artists and sculptorists, and regenerative tourism supports them by connecting visitors to the local goods, creative practices, and place-based storytelling. And it helps strengthen community identity and keeps the economic value circulating locally. So to close, the Brex is a landscape of environmental significance, from rare birds to Ice Age pingo ponds, and it's already home to leaders in conservation and sustainable land management. So by embracing regenerative tourism, we hope to support those efforts, reinforce local economies, and create a visitor experience that truly gives back more than it takes. So that's introduction to my project, and I'm open for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Deb, and I wish you a lot of luck with this
Thank
project.
you.
I think it's going to be successful. Yeah, I have a question that came to my mind. When you said that one of the fears was that perhaps the visitors won't be willing to pay this premium for sustainability. I mean, why would, first question, would they need to pay more? And because why would we do that? Also, I have in my mind, even some tourists could think, okay, I'm giving, I'm doing things positively. I'm helping to restore that. I'm helping to do whatever. Why should I pay more? I mean, just I openly make this question, and perhaps also Xavier can say something in that.
I think some of it is perception, and I think that's key in the stakeholder engagement and really getting people around the table to sort of share some of the details of what they're experiencing. But I think there are perceptions, and I think providing best practice sharing, a community conversation, signposting to these to initiatives and opportunities for grants to help with these things. So I think a lot of that can be myths can be allayed, and I think there are funding pots, and I think that's why it's important that the community and the stakeholders are part of a conversation about that. It may be the case that things are more expensive, but I think things have moved on significantly. It's just making sure that those businesses are coming along and have the best sort of support and advice and signposting for them to think about specifically their business.
Okay, both you and Xavier, we are talking a lot about just this community base. But my question is, in your case, for example, there's this entity, the Visitor Partnership, I don't remember exactly the name, which is, yeah, EVELPE, which is a public-private. So my question is, don't we always need some public administration somehow to be the first booster, the first that initiates? Because otherwise, in practical terms, is it difficult for the community? You know, how are they going to organize themselves? It's like you need, even if it's a bottom-up approach, you need a little bit of public authority to push for it. It's a question, and also yes for Xavier.
I completely agree with that. And I think the foresight of the Norfolk and Suffolk LVEP to agree to doing this pilot is really important. They see how regenerative tourism in a county, a region as big as the East of England is important, and absolutely it is helping provide that seed investment to pull that community together and provide that initial direction. So I completely agree with you. It is needed. Javier?
Yeah, just to add something, because first, congratulations for your presentation. It's really, really nice example. So I present 4 examples. For instance, Sentim la Muga, Feeling la Muga is a proposal launched by a foundation. I mean, it was 100% private, right? It's the pioneers of our time that they want to work with in that area, and they are fundraising, and that's the way they are doing. I mean, you need some promoter, but this promoter could be private or could be public. In the case of the Canary Island, is the public administration, the tourism public administration, who is promoting this regenerative project, right? But the Anaga Biofest again is a it's a private company who is promoting this jointly with public administration. I mean, they only in this case need funding, but they are doing everything. And finally, the the private sector who is promoting Cerdaña Viva, clearly that's a provider who is private, right? And he decided by his own to change the way they are promoting tourism in the Pyrenees, and now they are pulling other like them just to get involved in that regenerative institute. So I mean, public sector is really good for to make the rules and to push the idea, but it's not the only stakeholders to do that.
Okay, thank you for your insights. Some interesting questions here in the chat to make us think. So regenerative tourism, in some cases, is only for rich people. What do you think about this? How can we solve it? Any thoughts? Do you agree with this assertion?
Well, before you mentioned the idea of price, and I think the most important is the issue of value, right? So not being confusing about price and value. And I think that it hasn't, it's not necessarily more expensive than other activities. I mean, of course, if you are helping to a destination, that time and effort you are dedicating, you don't have to just count as a workforce, right? As how many euros you are contributing to it. You are contributing because you are enjoying doing that. And the rewarding of this and the value it gives it to you, it's more important than the prices you are paying. Another thing is that that value is jointly with some services that has a high price. For instance, if you want to stay into a cottage, or you want to go with 2 or 3 people and eating some products from an artisan, local products, that's more expensive than going to a common brand or a common restaurant. That's true, but it's for the services, not for the whole experience. I mean, and that's why I say, well, it's like ecotourism. You can go into nature with your binoculars, and that's doing ecotourism, and it hasn't to be really expensive. The thing is that we give well, the question is, we give added value to that experience or not? And then we have to put the proper price. Sometimes it's more expensive, but sometimes not.
How can we ensure that regenerative tourism is meeting its initial objectives? I mean, healing and improving the ecosystems and the communities. I mean, are there any indicators, ways to? You were mentioning before, Xavier, that we need to change the metrics. Do you know if that there already exists some standards, or this is work in progress? And good for you, Deb, also, so that you can take it into account to measure now how things are now, and then contrast them later.
Deb, please answer you first, and I will go afterwards.
No, and that's one of the things that I'm working through with the University of Greenwich at the moment. So that's kind of a key part of understanding the current baseline and looking at what businesses and are doing already to measure. And I think when you're looking at sort of habitat restoration, there are clear measurables, but less so in terms of running businesses, part of the visitor economy, businesses in particular, restaurants and hotels and attractions. So I think, there are specific measurements that include carbon that are, really rooted in the landscape. And I think having practical sort of measurements that you educate visitors who are coming, rather than, talking about we wash your towels every few days, or please, we do this in a certain way. Actually say why that you're doing that and try and demonstrate how much water that saves by doing that, which, has a much more of an impact on the visitor in terms of actually, yes, that's really good. They'll think twice about doing an action. So I think that if you can measure the day-to-day savings that create better engagement with your visitor to be part of that initiative, those are, helping businesses showcase that better and talk about that better and include it in the marketing that they're doing on their own website is the starting point. And then going forward, looking at, okay, these are initiatives that are relatively straightforward, that you can include it in your business, and here is a way of measuring that. So I think it needs to be more of a process where you you look at what you can do and what that measurement and that evaluation means. Because I think if you're looking for private investment, if you're looking for people to help support this, it's really important that you are able to demonstrate the impact that this is having, a little bit like, you know, private finance for nature restoration and carbon credits and those kind of things. I think to get that buy-in, it's really important. I don't think we're there yet, but I think there's a reason we should have a better conversation about that.
Okay, thank you. Xavier, have something to add to this question?
Yeah, well, I totally agree. And I think, well, we have to adapt all these indicators to the places because again, with the examples into the Muga River Basin, for them is really important. For instance, the water, the green water, the blue water, etc., or the fire forest, right? And maybe in the Canary Island, that's not really relevant. Maybe no. So we have to. Now it's an ongoing process. It's like sustainable tourism. We have a checklist of the different indicators for sustainable tourism. We don't have it. We have some certifications. We have some idea of how to distribute in economical aspects, social aspects, environmental aspects, etc. But with regeneration, we want to go deeper and we want to link better, right? So that's why that's an ongoing process. But as I mentioned, you are adapting your indicators to the place where you are trying to promote that restoration, that regeneration.
Thank you. I would like just to finish because we are reaching our scheduled time with the opinion from Phil Holden. He's saying that somehow, I'm trying to summarize, that this idea of regenerative tourism goes beyond. It's not only for tourism, it's also for all the whole industry. And as such, all the industries and all the way of society, way of life, as such, the governments, the public bodies and communities should work together towards this new framework, mindset shift, new paradigm. Let's see how all this will end up. It is clear that we are facing a crisis, climate, biodiversity crisis, but also, as Xavier making his introduction, at least from the southern countries, this tourismophobia, or these communities that don't want to have this kind of massive tourism any longer. So there's a change in towards tourism, to the vision of tourism. And perhaps EUROPARC, we published 30 years ago this seminal report book, Loving Them to Death. And perhaps it's time to publish now the sequel of this book, Regenerating Them to Life. Stay tuned. Let's see if we what we will do next year. Have work for that. Thank you so much, Xavier and Deb, for your presentation. I think they have helped to clarify, to shed a new light on this topic, this new topic, this new approach. And thank you all the audience to be so active. I'm sorry we couldn't address all the questions. But I mean, the good thing of the chat that others can read your questions and your comments and your thoughts. So this make you think. It's a good change. We will share these questions anyway with the speakers so that they might contact you to give you an answer if they have time for that. Thank you, everyone, and please have a nice weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you to all of you.
Thank you.
Bye.